Can do. Alrighty. Well, welcome everybody to a speedrun of Super Princess Peach, a game on the DS that I love getting to showcase, so I thank the Marathon for having me today, and we will get starting in 3, 2, 1, go! So, the game takes place on a little island called Vibe Island, and you will see on the, what is the bottom screen, the touch screen, has basically the main four mechanics of this game, which are Peach's four vibes, which are joy, gloom, rage, and calm. We will be seeing probably one the most, and that is this gloom vibe, which you can see whenever I turn it on. Peach begins to run super fast. So we'll be using it to traverse a lot of horizontal rooms as fast as we can. The one we'll see probably...
I was gonna say, I know when I'm sad, I just run as fast as I can, so...
Exactly. Trying to get away from your problems, right? Yeah, but the second we'll probably be seeing a decent amount of time is the joy vibe, which is the yellow heart in the top left corner. And everyone knows that when you get super duper happy, you gain the power of flight, like we will be doing here. It's very common knowledge. If you've not flown out of happiness, give it a try sometime. Let me know how it goes. The other two on the right are definitely a lot less common. The rage vibe we use to basically get set on fire and do things such as burn bridges, power hot air balloons, and it's sort of like an invincibility mode. And the fourth one, the calm vibe, honestly almost never gets used. All it does is heal you, which if, you know, you don't want to die and have to start a level over, then you'll use the calm vibe. But besides that, in a speedrun scenario at least, typically it won't get used. But I will resort to it as needed to not lose time having to reset levels. Yeah, basically we're just kind of zooming our way through the very first world here. Doesn't typically take too much time. You can see these pink boxes in every level. They actually contain toads that casually you're supposed to save every single toad in the game in order to unlock the final boss of the game. The unfortunate thing is nowhere within the game does it actually tell you that, and I have seen a lot of people playing this game casually that just get to the end and try to enter the final boss, and the game just doesn't let them. And then essentially, because they don't want to go back and save all the toads, they never get to beat the game. Which I don't blame them, there are a lot of levels.
You've got to be kidding me. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. It is pretty crazy. I was like looking around in the game, there's like little hint boxes, especially in the first levels, to kind of give you little tips and stuff. There's one that says, there's 3 toads in every level, be sure to collect all of them, but it doesn't say why. If you bought this game, you know, with the game case and everything, if you read the little user manual that games, you know, used to come with back in the day, it actually says in there, you can't unlock the final boss unless you save all the toads. I bought this game used, so it didn't come with that, but I tend to kind of have a completionist attitude anyway, so I never, like, went on to the next stage without finding all the collectibles in every world for every stage anyway, so it didn't affect me. But definitely, they seem to be skippable collectibles, and in fact, they're not. Fortunately for the speedrun, though, it was actually a trick found, I want to say maybe 2-ish years ago now? It might be 3, I've lost track of time. There is a little feature, trick, glitch, I don't know what you call it, that we can do at the end that basically allows us to break into the final boss fight without having collected the toads. Before we knew that existed, runs took, oh, it's an unfortunate turnip. Runs took, what, like 2 hours, 20 minutes? Somewhere above 2 hours, and just finding that one trick, allowing us to reroute all the levels to be much quicker, essentially saved us, over a half hour of time, and definitely made the game way more tolerable to sit down and do a run of. Another thing I need to be conscious of, and I think unfortunately I'm a little behind on, is my money. There is a shop that you can... Oh, that's unfortunate. You can visit between levels to unlock power-ups and such. I mean, you see I have a little parasol. Typically, the classic parasol power in video games is you can float in the air with it. That costs 200 coins in this game. So essentially, the moment I hit 200 coins, I'll be going to purchase it. Ideally, I want to get it before, like right as I finish World 1. I think I'm probably 10 coins behind that, so I'll probably have to do the first level in World 2 without the float umbrella power-up. I've done it enough that it'll be fine, but it technically will be a little costly that I didn't buy that. Kamijino in chat, there is a all toads category that sort of is the legacy any percent speedrun category. Sort of like a glitchless category is the best way to consider it. This room I'm in, like, I don't know if you've been paying attention, there's been like mushrooms in a room and then flowers. Basically the order of the mushrooms the mushrooms are on screen is the order I need to hit these flowers in. This room, the moving platforms on the sides are really awkward in how they move, and like they like slowly creak to a stop when they get to the height of their movement, and it can make jumping up onto the platforms kind of awkward sometimes. But yeah, because we know how to sort of manage our vibe, which you can see that meter in the top left corner. If that ever runs out, we can't use our vibe. Because we have good vibe management here. Fortunately, that route wasn't too tricky. And feel free to chime in with the questions. I will try to catch any in chat. Feel free to, like, if you see any questions in chat that you want me to answer, I will gladly cover them. To the best of my ability. I mentioned earlier, turnip not good. I don't like these goal rings at the end of every stage give you money. Mushrooms give you 10 coins, turnips 1, flowers 30, and the star gives you 50, or it has a slight chance of turning into a peach, and that gives you 777 coins, which can be a really convenient thing to save on shopping. Typically, it doesn't happen. If it does, you know, it's a nice little way to bless your run. It's kind of cool, but we don't really anticipate that. Also, any Sunshine fans, Super Mario Sunshine fans out there may recognize the first boss of this game and how we will go about beating him. A little bit of a probably slightly less healthy water, a little salty compared to maybe what Flood is shooting into Petey's mouth in Super Mario Sunshine, but same concept. Fill him with water, knock him on his back, bounce on his little belly button. So that will be a quick process through this boss fight. Every boss has sort of like a phase 2 where they use a vibe to sort of mix it up. So Petey here will go into a rage form and we'll start hopping around a little bit. Petey's actually one of the few bosses, or one of the bosses that doesn't really have too much of an RNG factor to them. Essentially, it's an auto scroller if you know his movement. You'll notice I'm taking a lot of damage. That is on purpose. Every time you turn a vibe on or off, you may have seen the game sort of freezes for that to happen. And then, you know, gets back to business afterwards. If you damage when in a vibe, it knocks you out of a vibe without the time loss of, like, the little freeze frames. So we will be doing damage boosts like that from time to time, just to get little minor time saves. So yeah, I'm at 195 coins. That means that I do not have Float Umbrella for this first level, so I have to slightly adapt my movement. Like sometimes I would usually have done a little Float Umbrella to save a little bit of vibe flying up here, but not happening today. You'll actually notice a lot of enemies, bosses, and such. Might seem a little familiar from other games. We'll see some Super Mario World enemies. We already saw a Sunshine boss. I believe... Oh, here's a toad that actually just completely blocks our path. This is one of the few lucky toads that we are forced to save because there's no way around them. But yeah, I believe the Koopalings are actually unused content in this game that did not make it in the final game, but there does exist data in the game for them, which is kind of cool. But yeah. So now that we have 200 coins, over 200 coins, we'll be visiting the shop. There will be a second shop visit in World 4 when we get another 750 coins. And that is to buy 2 Vibe Teas, which essentially increase our Vibe meter so that we can use more Vibe in levels and in bosses. And got ourselves our first auto-scroller here. I'm going to just be throwing some spinies into each other to farm some coins while we wait. I don't know if you have any donations or announcements. This would be a good time.
I sure do. We got a $20 anonymous donation with no comment. That was very nice of you. You don't need to tell us who you are. You don't need to say anything. All you need to do is donate. You can go to any of the links that I just put in chat. Well, not any of them. The last one will be the one that helps you donate. Take a look at the wonderful incentives and prizes that we have coming at you here today. Our next couple incentives. We have a bid war incentive for Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword that is coming up a little bit later tonight. That incentive closes at the beginning of that run, which is at 11 p.m. Eastern Time, as well as another incentive, our next incentive. See, I was pretty quiet. I should be talking louder. There we go. You can go into and see our next incentive at which is closes at 3 a.m. Eastern Time, and that is for random masters on final stage in a speedrun of Peggle Deluxe. A Peggle speedrun is coming. I want to see that. I want to know
how does that work.
Get those donations in there, chat.
Peggle Deluxe speedrun. That sounds fantastic. I believe I saw the Skyward Sword is the category, I believe, harp or something like that.
Yes,
I think the harp is my favorite part of that game, getting to play the harp and the Lumpy Pumpkin. I very much enjoyed the song there. So I would get excited for that run just for the sake of the harp. Gotta collect that harp. All right. Another note I can make about the Gloom vibe, you may or may not have noticed, anytime I'm running with the Gloom vibe, I am constantly hopping. That is actually an intentional thing, like, versus just running flat on the ground. For whatever reason, whenever you're in the air, your vibe meter drains slower with the Gloom vibe. So to preserve the vibe, like, this is actually a good example of a room. You look how low my vibe meter gets before I get to these 3 blocks, which will refill my vibe. If I wasn't hopping on the ground when using my Gloom, I would not have had the vibe necessary to get through the room, because I would have run out before getting there. So you always want to be in the air whenever possible when using Gloom. So definitely a little minor optimization there. And I believe, what do we got going on here? Another auto-scroller. Yep. Yeah. Get a couple of these, not quite back-to-back. 2, 3, didn't have the auto-scroller, but yeah, going vertical this time. So I remember when first learning runs of this, I always used to think like, oh, auto-scroller, that's when you can kind of go into autopilot and, you know, not pay attention, stuff like that. And I have fallen off more times than I am proud to admit and had to reset the entire auto-scroller before. This room actually is a little sneaky. If I stayed at the top of the screen, that Paragoomba right there would have knocked me off the ladder, and that would have been trouble. So, always got to have a little bit of awareness. And we'll be unlocking the first mini-game here, Toad Jump, which we will not be seeing during the run, but it would come into play in the 100% run, which I might talk a little bit about later, about how insane that becomes, because it takes what you do in the any percent run, and I believe it does more than just double it. Also, we're going to let this piranha plant eat us, so it spits us out with speed. Sometimes we might bounce on some fish to keep our momentum throughout this room, or they can just troll us and get in the way, unfortunately. But when you can get a nice clean fly over that entire room just from getting spit out by the piranha plant, it is quite satisfying. Gonna go ahead and turn that vibe off. There are a couple different ways to refill your vibe meter. There are these blue crystals laying about that can refill them, or if you pick up an enemy and absorb them or eat them, that can also work. Also, I'm going to use my Gloom vibe here to get extra height when you bounce off springs. Keep that in mind for later, that whenever I believe essentially the game translates your horizontal speed into vertical, with probably some extra fun computer math equations. But because of that, using Gloom off of a trampoline lets us gain extra height, and it let me sort of skip some stuff in that room, we're going to take advantage of that to even further heights in a couple worlds here. So keep that in the back of your mind.
Can I take you back to something you just said very casually, which I think needs a little bit of discussion?
Please do.
Peach eats enemies?
So it's not Peach. I can actually try to demonstrate in this next room.
Okay.
If you look really close, yeah, well, I'll do it in this room. It's the Parasol who has a face. Perry the Parasol.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
So if you look right before I enter the pipe, I'm going to crouch down. You'll see Perry just goes nom. Actually, I think it was in the air. It didn't show it.
Got it.
But there, I believe when you're on the ground, there's a pretty clear animation of Perry doing the eating. But yes, that would be quite bizarre.
I forgot the long-running Mario trope of sentient clothing and accessories.
Of course, yeah.
So
A
silly
staple.
me.
Exactly. But yeah, Perry is like a semi-developed character in this game with a whole backstory and everything. I'll probably go into it later. But Perry is never to be seen again, at least story-wise, in any other game. Does appear as like stickers and trophies and spirits and stuff in Smash Bros. Games. That is about it to my knowledge. Also, as I get to all these boss levels, you may have noticed something like the game basically changes suddenly very briefly. There's always a little touchscreen minigame before the boss fight. So what I'm doing right here is on the touchscreen, I'm using my stylus to just draw circles on the log that Peach is running on, and that is what allows us to ascend. In World 1, I was doing like a drag and like dragging bungee cords to trampoline Peach upwards.
This reads much better on when you're looking at the DS instead of split horizontally like we have
Yes.
on the
for
screen
sure.
right now, which makes it look very silly. But I can see it vertically, and that's how it looks. It's good.
Fortunately, the cycles I need to do for this boss, I flew up a little bit too early, and I also got bad RNG. Usually you can get to the second phase of this fight where Who, the name of the owl Who, goes into this phase 2. He'll usually sweep from left to right, but unfortunately I went a little too early and it messed up her patterns. So, and also when I broke the eggs that are supposed to drop Vibe, none of them dropped any, so I'm going to wait for this little egg spawning cycle here to get a Vibe drop off of that egg to then ascend to get my final 2 hits. So definitely having to adjust an audible there very briefly. Who? Yes, Who. Exactly. I've been saying the same thing, Green Z Saber, for as long as this game has existed. I am waiting for a sequel every day. You can see also, very briefly, we're at a campfire there. That is where you get your backstory for Perry. You get like little snippets, tidbits between each world. Yeah. And like I said, I'll probably go into that at some point. But now we're going into Shriek Mansion, so it's time to go spooky. Some familiar enemies as we go through here. Dry Bones, there'll be Booze, of course. But you may have noticed also that, like, as Peach has different vibes she uses, so too do the enemies. You'll see some gloomy Koopas, some angry Goombas and such. So yeah, they have like different variations of all the enemies. This is actually a bit of a tight room here. You have to go full speed and not get stopped so you can catch this cycle of platforms to get up to this pipe without having to wait. So a fun little new ability here, Slidebrella. We get to go zip lining. Let's go. Yeah, this is actually one of I said we needed 750 coins. These Slidebrella rooms are some of the nice, easy places to get coins that don't slow us down at all. So we are just zooming through here. Yeah, so here's an example of a gloomy Dry Bones that we're just going to kind of slide right past. Thank you, Charlie. I see that email in chat. Thank you all for using that. My initial, and Carolyn as well, I have a Let's Go emote that is inspired by these Slidebrella rooms that I very much enjoy. So I always appreciate when my chatters use that whenever we hit those rooms during these runs. All right. So besides Gloom being a fast way to travel, we also have the power of slopes and booty slides. And more or less you get about the same speed whether you're using slopes or using gloom. And because the slopes, you know, don't require turning vibe on and off, overall, whenever you can use like momentum from slopes, that would be the more optimal choice. And you can maintain that momentum from slopes by lighting torches, by jumping and bouncing off enemies. And if you jump right when you land, you can keep your momentum, stuff like that. It can be a little bit of a tight window, but definitely a worth it way to try to maintain your momentum. Okay, got that vibe crystal there. Jumping off the trampoline, very nice movement. Here's an example. If I can do the jumping right, I will be using this slope to get speed and try to jump as soon as I land to keep that momentum. These disintegrating platforms, I'm actually holding L to make Peach walk instead of run so that the platforms don't disintegrate beneath my feet. So very small thing to do there to safely not fall and have to re-climb up the platforms.
Do you have a second for a donation?
Go for it.
We have a $50 donation from Carolynx355 who says, love seeing Super Princess Peach in a marathon. Good luck with the run.
Thank you so much, Carolyn. I really appreciate it. Fantastic. Alright. Trying to think what kind of things we got coming up in these next couple rooms. Just lots of spooky, lots of rooms of slopes. There's a Fish and Boo from Super Mario World, if y'all are familiar. It really is a fun little nostalgia trip seeing some of the enemies they decide to showcase in this game. Alright, so this room's kind of interesting. I just opened a cage to release a big Boo. I need to wait for it to get over to the other side of the room because I'm going to use it as a platform when it gets stuck on this spotlight. And one of my favorite things about this room, that flickering light is basically flickering like at a rate of like 1 frame per flicker. So I've seen, like, basically if you're streaming at 30 FPS, you will see that light either be constantly on or constantly off. And it looks kind of amusing to me. So that's fun to note. We've been getting a lot of stars, which is definitely good to make sure we have plenty of money to get those 2 Vibe Teas we're getting later. This dark room here, if you wanted to use your Rage Vibe to light up the room, you totally could. But you can see it well enough, so I'm not going to. We've got a little bit of a labyrinth here of doors. Fortunately, the puzzle is always the exact same. It's middle, right, 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 left. Which actually, I think there was one marathon where I screwed up. I will admit it. But yeah, essentially if you get any door wrong, you're basically reset back to the beginning of the whole room. And just have to do it all over again. It would be very nasty if they randomize the order of those doors every time. So I'm grateful that they don't. Got a foggy room here, which we could use our Joy Vibe, which I mentioned it lets us fly. It also harnesses the power of Tornado, and we could basically blow away all the smoke. But similar to the dark room, I can see well enough, and so I do not take the time to do the Tornado powers. And one last room here that we will be zooming through to get to the goal ring. You see there's a puzzle piece there. I mentioned every level has 3 toads. There are additionally either music or puzzle pieces you can also collect. Basically, there's puzzles you can do, kind of like the Banjo-Kazooie puzzles, if anyone's familiar with those. As well as there's like a sound room where you can play songs from the game. All right, I mentioned Gloom and trampolines. We've got big trampolines now, so we're going to use Gloom to get major height and hopefully skip some trampolines. Like I already skipped one there, and I skipped one there as well. There should be a third one we can skip up ahead, but it's just a nice way to speed up the climb of this room. Which, there we go. We got the triple trampoline skip, which is, to my knowledge, the most we can skip in that room. So that went very nicely. And this Boo has a really nice placement. I can just damage boost off of him to catch this platform. So yeah, just zooming our way straight through Shriek Mansion here. I do not need to Gloom Vibe in here, though. Not yet, anyway. There's slopes up ahead, which makes that the more optimal choice of movement. I'm trying to think what's coming up ahead here. See some Sparkies there from Super Mario World. Yeah. It's definitely worth switching to Gloom here to break through those blocks. There is a vibe refill, so that we don't have to worry about worry about running out of vibe as we head through there. The one kind of interesting thing that you have to be careful about is when you do use glue, it actually can lag your game a little bit in the more busy, crowded rooms, and sometimes that can mess with your inputs. So you kind of have to be a little extra cognizant of, like, you know, not hitting an input too early or late or something like that. Can I get this damage boost through the ceiling? Nice. So I set off a bomb in the level of that room above, so that it basically blows up and hits me through the floor, and I can damage boost out of gloom to save a little bit of time. And also we have our first, like, rotating gravity room going on here. We will see a couple more of these rooms later in World 8. Pipes and doors are the final bosses of this game, by the way. I struggle through entering them way too often. But yeah, so we'll see those gravity rotating rooms from time to time in World 8 later. But now we're headed off into the boss of World 3, which feel free to take your guesses on who the boss would be of Shriek Mansion. And as we make our descent here for this boss minigame, essentially what I'm doing is I'm taking my stylus and rubbing or scratching on the touchscreen on the boos to scare them away and have them give me a lot of money. I've seen people think that you're supposed to tap the boos, but it's much quicker to slide your stylus back and forth. You can hear little squeaky, rubby noises as well as you do that. And we're actually entering the first boss that can have really significant RNG consequences if you are unlucky. There are 4 torches that I need all 4 lit to hit the boss. And as you can see, the boss is King Boo.
We
hopefully
did have a correct guess on King Boo. We did have some incorrect guesses, unfortunately, of speedrun again and Bob Hoskins.
Oh, that's a brilliant guess. So the way this boss works is there are 4 torches, and for the first hit, only 1 torch is unlit. For the second hit, 2 are unlit, and for the third, 3 are unlit, and for the fourth and fifth, all 4 are unlit. And it's random which ones the game decides to choose to unlight. So, for the first hit there, I got pretty lucky. The second closest torch was the one that was unlit. And for the second hit, it was the last torch that lit was on the bottom, so that was pretty fast. But unfortunately, the third hit I had to go catch. I had to basically visit all 4 torches before I found them all. So I would say that's probably slightly better than what I normally see, but not optimal. Once again, I'm doing intentional damage boosts through King Boo to go from side to side to light these torches. The movement is very, like, autopilot-y for me for that boss, but the time is far from consistent based on what kind of RNG you get from the torches. And now that we're done with Shriek Mansion, we head on over to World 4, Fury Volcano. And I can actually take this opportunity to start talking a little bit. I mentioned that Perry has some backstory that you kind of see the game tries to show us between worlds. I can kind of start talking to that a little bit for those that are curious. Essentially, Perry kind of woke up one day in the woods or something like that, and an old man that he calls Grandpa kind of found him there, and they were like all best buddies and happy and stuff. And then suddenly, like, an evil wizard and his henchmen came by. Hang on, I'm in a sandstormy room here that I'm just gonna take a lot of damage through. But essentially, that wizard and henchman, I don't know what they do to Grandpa, but they separate Grandpa from Perry. I believe that's also when he gets cursed into being a parasol. Then the villains of our story essentially say, oh, this is a useless parasol, let's just dump it on the side of the road, we don't need it. Which they do. And then one lucky day, because Perry can't move on his own apparently, he's just kind of stuck on the floor, a traveling merchant walks by and finds him and decides, I could pick this thing up and maybe sell it or something, I don't know. To which, that's what he does. Toadsworth comes by and finds the parasol for sale by the salesman, and he's like, I got a good feeling about this parasol, I'm gonna buy it. And so that is essentially how the parasol makes its way to Mushroom Kingdom folk And right as the game begins and Peach goes on the adventure here to, oh, by the way, Mario, Luigi, or Mario the Green Man and a bunch of Toads are captured at the beginning, and Peach decides that she wants to go save the day, she needs to save her kingdom and all that, and Toadsworth says, oh, don't go alone, take this parasol with you, and then that's how this team unites. But basically between every boss, you get Perry basically dreaming about his past and then saying like, Grandpa, I'll find you and stuff and we'll be reunited. And then like after the very last one, he's like, you know, I will get reunited, but first let me help Peach. And then he helps Peach and you beat the game, and Perry and Grandpa are never heard from again. So much plot, so much build up, all that for the story, and no closure. So
you know what else could never be heard from again?
What's that?
Childhood hunger. If you donate to No Kid Hungry, a charity dedicated to providing meals for children in need, as well as supporting food banks and community groups that serve the areas that need it most, they provide emergency grants and expert guidance to schools, local community groups to help feed kids. All of your donations during this marathon will go towards No Kid Hungry.
That jump, unfortunately. Okay. Trying to think what we have going on. Next room is another slide brella for us. So zooming on by. So actually, now that we're in World 4, I'm going to be paying close attention to my money again, because I'm trying to get to that magic number of 750, which honestly, because I got so many stars and goal rings, we are well ahead of schedule on. A lot of times when I'm like going on PB attempts and trying to get like a new personal best, looking at my splits throughout World 4 can get really confusing, because it could look like, oh, that's the rest of my 750, we're good to go. It can look like I'm suddenly 10 or 15 seconds ahead inexplicably, but it's just because I shopped earlier or later compared to my PBs. Now that I have 750 coins, I'm going to go over, purchase this Vibe Tea, watch it slowly float from, what is that, right to left on your guys' screens there, to increase our Vibe gauge, and then leave the shop, and now you'll see when I enter the next level here, my Vibe gauge is significantly longer. It starts at the same starting amount as it would otherwise do. The only exception to that is when you enter boss levels, you do get maximum Vibe. And honestly, especially for the boss of this world, that matters pretty significantly, as we try to just use our Vibe and not turn it off, just to save a little bit of time. And we can run low on Vibe sometimes if we're not careful. And that does also result in us needing to hope for good RNG drops of Vibe from the boss. Which Vibe drops are like the main source of RNG on boss fights. The only exception to that being the King Boo boss fight, which we just saw, where the RNG came from, which torches are lit and unlit. Here's an example of a time we actually have to use Rage Vibe to stomp on this thing. My favorite part about those guys, though, is if you read the little hint box that gives you a tip on how to destroy it, it says something like, oh, I'm sure if you jump on it, you can scare it away, when in actuality, when you stomp on it, you see it, like, you know, gets crushed into a bunch of brittle little pieces, and you just straight up, you know, annihilate it. But no, you just scare it away. It's fine. It's just elsewhere, you know? It's all cool. Another use of Rage Vibe here. These red switches require just turning on your Rage Vibe to just give the button a good old stomp before we proceed to gloom our way to zoom through the room. Because gloomies make zoomies. And for those of you that might be curious, you can see I'm playing on a DS with an actual capture card installed on it. I know handheld consoles are like some of the trickiest ones to capture game feed for streaming, speedrunning, anything like that. I was fortunate enough to find a place to purchase 2DS with a capture card years back. When I first started running this game, though, I didn't know what a DS capture card was and any of that stuff. I don't know if anyone here is familiar with the little kickstand that came with, it was the Kid Icarus 3DS game. I used to play with like the most MacGyvered setup possible, where like I had a stack of just video game boxes that I placed a camera on top of to point at my screen, and I used the stand and another stack of boxes to sort of like hold up my DS, and it would like, you know, be still and not be shaky and such, and I would just sit with my hands wrapped around my camera and holding on to my DS and playing it. I believe some of my original PBs still exist with that old camera setup. But those were different times. But it was worth figuring out how to do that setup first before getting my hands on a capture card, because it's been a fun journey speedrunning this game and watching the community grow and seeing a bunch of other folks start taking on the game as well. We have a little bit of an influx of runners recently. So I'm actually getting some pretty solid times, getting pretty close to world record. I'm actually second place on the leaderboards right now. As of yesterday, I am 10 seconds off of world record, so I'm hoping to narrow that gap. Gotta be a little careful here with this low health. Having 6 health sounds like a lot, but on some of these rooms you just damage boost and get hit so much that it can dwindle down quite quickly. But yeah, it's been really cool seeing activity of seeing like runners do both full runs. We've got some people occasionally doing some individual level speed runs as well, and we've got a friendly community. People, you know, help each other with questions and stuff. Really welcoming space if giving this game a try interests you at all. But yeah, it was quite the experience starting without a capture card, though, I must say. Alrighty, so similar looking touchscreen minigame here before the boss. Peach up on the top screen, or left screen for you, floating down while I'm looking at the bottom screen, just doing some... On this one, I'm doing tippity taps on the rocks to break them. But feel free to put some guesses in on who you think the boss will be of World 4 here. Believe it's probably not as obvious, though it is a boss as seen in other Mario games. So, unlike the Who fight the owl, it is not an originally designed boss for this game. It's probably, well, it's one of the lesser obvious ones that you might be able to guess it, I don't know. But for those of you, see, it is Wiggler, which we will be unfortunately screwing up the movement on already. And is that going to be too slow? Am I going to catch him still? Okay, we did. Sweet. Got to be a little careful. I hit him a little late there, but basically we're going to be flipping him upside down with these little springs. He always goes into his rage. His phase 2 isn't like where he uses the extra vibe. He always goes into rage. But yeah, we're just going to flip him over to calm him down faster and then rinse and repeat. And you saw when those boulders fell from the sky when he ran by, that is where our vibe drops are, and that's where we hope for the good RNG. Oh, I wish it was King Bob-omb. That would have been so cool. I don't think, yeah, King Bob-omb doesn't make an appearance in this game. All right, fortunate. I've had times where like 3 or 4 rocks drop and no vibe drops, and then you're just suddenly in a lot of trouble, and that is not fun. But yeah, we have like a very set movement here to optimally get our hits on Wiggler. The phase 2 for the Wiggler fight here, you will see something happen. We will get a little bit of some poison smoke pop up here. And I'm going to use some joy to whisk it away, because if it gets too cloudy, I'll start taking some damage over time. And remember how I was talking about bad RNG? We just got bad RNG. I am pretty low on vibe and did not get a refill, so I'm going to not use a damage boost here. I just want to be as safe as possible. I don't want to take any chances. Get the hit there. Knock this down to flip him over, get rid of a little more smoke. Now we're just going to hope that we get a few more vibe crystals, please. There we go. And we're all set to finish this boss right off. Usually if I get enough vibe and I do all my damage boosting, we would get down to like I don't know if it's 2 health or 1 health, but yeah, unfortunately, not the best RNG, but most certainly manageable. And that gets us through the first half of the levels. Not quite, like, time-wise, not the first half of the run. Some of the later levels get a little bit longer. But in terms of raw numbers of levels, we are now halfway there as we head over to Wavy Beach. Yeah, so 3 out of 4 boss fights, and we've now seen three of them were Sunshine. Although I believe the Wiggler in Super Mario Sunshine looks a little bit different. Unfortunate there, I keep falling in the water. That is not the best movement, but we can just pick it right back up and keep moving. Whoops. I actually wanted to eat that Goomba to get Vibe from it, so I'm actually going to hold off on when I activate my Gloom Vibe here. In fact, I'm just going to leave it off to be safe. I don't want to risk running out of it. Let's say this might be a good time for donations here if you've got any or any announcements.
I do. We have a $25 donation from Cryptic Charlie, who says, "Let's go less than 3." And remember that you can put your donation towards any one of a number of incentives here for the marathon. Just mention which incentive you want to put your donation to in your donation comment. I said, just as a reminder, the next couple incentives coming up are the Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword harp category run coming up at 11 p.m. Eastern Time, which is a file name bid war, so you can suggest those in your donation comments. And then we've got Peggle Deluxe Random Masters on Final Stage. That's just $25. You want to see some random masters in a friggin' Peggle speed run. Just $25 if you can get that donation met. We should be able to do that by the end of this run, I think. Make it real easy for the overnight crew. Thank you all very much for your donations towards No Kid Hungry and your support for Zeta Robotnik this run.
Do we know what any of the top file names are currently?
Let me see. Right now, it's open. I gotta say, you know what? If you've got a file name that you want to see, you can get that in for cheap. Get those donations in. We want you to be generous with your donations, you know, but if this is the thing where maybe you only have just a couple dollars to donate, every little bit helps. A little bit of money can go a long way towards ending childhood hunger. And so if you want to see a particular file name, maybe do the name. If you've got a sweetheart whose name is 8 characters or fewer, you can put it in there as the file name. You can say, "Look, hon, I donated some money to get a file named after you in a charity marathon." They'll go, "That's nice, sweetie. I have no idea what that meant, but the thought will do what counts for sure." I see we have an underwater level now.
Yep, we are in a submarine. It is, I'm just tapping A to gain height, and then just naturally gravity takes me down. Nothing too complicated. I was gonna say if there weren't any picks yet, we were talking about there isn't a Super Princess Peach 2. I don't see why why can't we all just pretend that Skyward Sword is that Super Princess Peach 2 and have Peach be our hero that saves the day over in Skyloft? That's just my opinion, though.
You're not biased at all.
No, not in the slightest. Trying to see if I have my co-host on stream today. We do, if you can see behind me. Oh, I ran out of vibe. Ooh, that's interesting. That's what I get for being distracted. Ooh, let's not die here. Got ourselves a little kitty cat Anastasia behind me on camera. She's unfortunately on her nap break right now, but let me tell you, if she was awake, she would be giving so much useful commentary for the stream.
And just like that, that Peggle Deluxe incentive was met with another $25 donation from Cryptic Charlie, who says, "Let's go ×2, less than 3, less than 3."
Beautiful.
Thank you so much for your generosity.
Thank you, Charlie. Less than 3 is one of my favorite donation messages. What was this? It is. Okay. So this level has a really quick blink and you'll miss it tricky moment. You've noticed that I can really abuse the power of Joy Vibe just to fly up and skip a lot of like expected climbing. There is a moment in this level that I am going to Joy up here, but the place I'm ultimately trying to get to right here, if I try to Joy up, those little white like clear balls basically stop you from flying up. But I did that, that was the trick right there. Literally just the quick little back and forth jump to sneak my way up into that pipe. Just saves like either riding a spear across the room, which takes a while, or like that pipe in general skips like 2 or 3 rooms in this level. I don't even know what this level looks like anymore because I skipped half of it going up into that pipe. But that little like quick U-turn jump, as I typically call it.
Hashtag speedrunner problems.
Exactly.
I don't remember what this level looks like anymore.
Yep. That's actually one of my favorite things about watching casual runners. Like, I'll just hop into a stream on some level, like, oh, you're in 3-2? Where the heck are you? What room is this? Oh, wait, it's just that one auto-scroller with a lot of money that we never visit. That's right. Swag jump, exactly, Carolyn. Oh yeah, oh, one other thing, with these underwater sections. I told you I move around by pressing A and then just kind of, you know, that's how I swim. Reminder that DSs, 3DSs, all that have microphones. And this game on the DS is like, oh wait, this is a DS game, we have a microphone, what do we do with it? I know, let's blow bubbles. So if you blow into the microphone, that is your underwater attack. So if you just kind of want to scream into the mic like, ah, like that, you can blow bubbles and attack. It's wonderful.
That's delightful.
Mm-hmm. You have many options. You could like, you know, yell some kind of catchphrase into the microphone, whatever you want. However you want to blow your bubbles, as long as it projects enough air into the microphone, you're all set. Alternatively, sometimes I just rub my thumb over the microphone hole and that activates it, but I mean, for marathons, we gotta have more fun than that, right? Gotta get into it. This is... I think this is a level that has a little bit of a tricky vibe conservation to it. Like, I needed to make sure I grabbed the crystal in that breakable block. Oh, these chain chomps are fun. They have very strange hitboxes that even when you're, like, have your iframes from taking damage, their hitbox is still active and can push you. That mostly just makes them get in your way and make you go slow. There is a level where the chain chomps are going to the right that you will see later that we can potentially abuse that to get some really nice zoomies. But yeah, in this level, I'm using a lot of vibe and draining it a lot of times, so I need to make sure I grab vibe from enemies and from crystals anywhere I can to make sure that... Ooh, that wave just saved me. I was not expecting jumping off it. That was very lucky. But yeah, you don't want to run out of vibe prematurely. If you run out of vibe in midair, you lose all your momentum. So if I, like, ran out of my gloom vibe when jumping over a gap, you would get one of those, like, classic cartoon moments where, like, you know, Wile E. Coyote holds up a sign that says, uh-oh, and then just falls to their death. So we don't want to do that, basically. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and grab one vibe from that Goomba there, and then I'm going to grab a little bit more vibe in the last room before hopefully glooming my way the entire way. After I get past all these piranha plants. Yeah, so there's this fun little cannon enemy here I'm going to absorb. I need to break all 3 of those blocks because the third one has gloom in it, has vibe in it. And now I got a full meter. I can just hop my way through this last room. Jump over that water and hit the goal. We're all set. Exactly, Resident. Super and peachy. Alright. What do we got in 5-5? Got ourselves a few Yoshi game enemies there, some ravens. As I said, this game definitely likes to feature a lot of enemies from a lot of different Mario games. Definitely a good wave of nostalgia. It doesn't even count, like, I would say this game released close enough to when Sunshine did. I don't think it would count as nostalgia for Sunshine. But still, it's pretty cool seeing how many different games. Like, I think big chain chomps like that also exist in Yoshi games. Some Super Mario Bros. 3 nippers. And yeah, there's a toad in this room up high. That's why the coins were pointing up. But we don't get to save them. I'm probably gonna have to remember to give a little description. I mentioned at the end we're going to be skipping the toads. It's another very blink and you'll miss it moment, so I'll try to remember to give a little bit of a preemptive description of what's going to happen so that, you know, when it happens, everyone can get an idea of what I just did. The unfortunate thing about touchscreen moments, it's really hard to see, like, well, where am I touching on the screen? Because you can't really see that. Oh my bad, I was supposed to go, ah! That's better. Ah! Bubbles. Oh, no, hang on. I'm actually going to reset this room, because there's a nice little trick that I can bounce off of that Lakitu to gain some height, and I just forgot to do that. And there we go. Because there's another shortcut pipe up here, which, playing through casually, pipes like this are actually very, very mean, because they can lead to you accidentally skipping a toad. Because that pipe just takes me right to the end here, and actually backwards one room from this final room is where a toad is. So shortcuts aren't actually a good thing when playing through the game casually, because then you miss required things. All right, now, like I said, we're halfway through the stages, so we're going to see the touchscreen minigames begin to recycle. So we're doing another log rolling from World 2. Although the way this one works, I can go non-stop all the way to the top. In World 2, I had to like kind of slow down and not get hit by the spikes. The cycles of these spears work such that I can just go all the way full speed ahead until the very last one up here. Also, we're almost at the top here. Place your bets, see if you know who the boss might be of this world. It is another friendly Sunshine boss here. We got ourselves Gooper Blooper, which actually is probably... Oh, I'm getting bad. I need him to attack me. He needs to attack. Thank you. This is one of those fights that, as far as I can tell, it's RNG, but I have no idea what's going on. You need all 4 of those tentacles to attack before you can then attack the mouth. But as far as I can tell, the best thing you can try to do is stay directly underneath a tentacle to make it attack faster. But sometimes Blooper will just take his good old time deciding when to attack, as you saw during the first cycle there. And here, just take a swing at me, please. Thank you. So, yeah. And then after the shot of ink, you can just whack the mouth. A Jigglypuff from above. Not quite. It's a very fun bounce there. So yeah, you kind of notice the theme of all the bosses. It's very much a rinse and repeat. Every hit's very similar kind of process. Unfortunately, I keep not quite getting my timing right on these hits and getting knocked back. And Blooper's quasi phase 2 actually happens when Blooper's down to 1 health. He will try to use Calm Vibe to heal, and we will not let him take a nap and heal up. Yeah, so you can see right here, in an effort to heal, Blooper tries to rest. We're just going to use our Rage real quick to pop the bubble, and just do one last cycle of more of the same. And you actually have to be careful with these tentacle attacks. Sometimes they're just hits, other times you can get grabbed or tossed in the air. And if you ever get the grab or the yeet, that can be very time consuming before you kind of back in the cycle of getting to do hits. Yeah, that is World 5 done and done. And now that we're done with Waterland, it's about to get icy. And we'll be going into one of the shortest levels in the entire game, which you'd think, you know, the short level should be back in World 1, but nah, they snuck in a short level late game. Although, to be fair, if we had to save all the toads, maybe it would still be longer, but I think we visit... Is it 3 or 4? Well, this is 1 room. Yeah, we do 3 rooms in this entire level. So we're going to gloom through here. A little bit of joy to skip some platforming. Oh. And just like that, we get I think this is where we get our third mini game. I think we've already got Toad Tote. And we finish the level here. And we're done. Yeah, like, and this split ends up being like just over a minute. It's crazy how fast it flies by. Getting that minigame though does remind me of the 100% run. I kind of start talking a little bit about that because the 100% run is significantly longer, and one of the reasons for that is those minigames. So there are 3 minigames in this game: Toad Jump, Toad Tote, and Toad Shot, all of which kind of use one of the don't want to fall here. I'm trying to use damage boost to just kind of walk over these spikes like they're no big deal. They want you to joy and fly through this, but why do that when you can just not? Yeah, the mini games like Toad Tote is just kind of you doing like a it's kind of like a game of operation in terms of you don't want to touch the walls. I think there's a game out there called Irritating Stick or something that's very similar to you're dragging a toad through like a maze of fire, and if you just don't want to touch the firewalls and take damage.
Now there's a game I haven't thought of in a long time. Irritating Stick.
Yeah, I don't know why I know it, but that's exactly what Toad Tote is like.
I feel like I learned about that game from an old paper issue of EGM back in the 90s. If I can age myself a little bit.
Beautiful. Yeah, then you've got Toad Jump, which kind of looks like a mobile game runner where a toad is running nonstop to the right, and you blow into the mic to make him jump and jump over obstacles. And get to the finish line. Real quick, I'm going to use Gloom here. This room is very bizarre in that ceiling there, like if you jump straight into it, sometimes it can just eat all of your momentum. So you have to you want to jump to conserve your vibe, but you don't want to jump and get stuck on the ceiling and fall down into the spikes. So yeah, you got the microphone jumping Toad Jump, and then you've got Toad Shot, which is just a bunch of balloons in the air that you have to just tap and pop them to score points. And once you hit a goal, like a goal point level, you're finished. So each of those mini games has 10 levels. So part of the 100% run requires you to do essentially 30 mini games. In addition, there are also puzzle pieces that every level has, and every world has a 12 or 24 piece puzzle that you need to complete. And so getting all the puzzle pieces and then actually putting together the puzzles is another part of the speed run. So on top of all the levels, you've got 30 mini games and 8 puzzles. But yeah, on top of that, once you beat the game, so the weird thing is when you even though we don't collect all the toads, essentially the game gives you all the toads for free once you beat Bowser. So we allow skipping the toads in the 100% run because the game counts as collected in the long run, and there's so much other stuff to do anyway that it wouldn't be worth counting. It would kind of not make for a fun run. Because after you beat the game, all the toad locations get replaced by a new collectible. So you have to revisit every stage a second time, and every boss has a round 2 that's slightly harder than the first time. So you have to reface every boss as well. And on top of that, every time you beat a boss, it unlocks 3 levels in the next world. So you're doing every level twice, plus an additional 8 times 3, so 24 new levels on top of that. And in addition to that, you saw there was the shop. You have to clear out and purchase everything in the shop, including all power-ups, puzzle pieces, songs, collectibles, everything, which actually means the very end of the run involves you just farming a lot of coins by using a power-up. Is it secret power? I don't know, whatever power-up it is that basically anytime you whack an enemy, it automatically drops a 5 coin drop. There's a room way back in Wavy Beach that has a bunch of Koopas, and we just essentially go on a Koopa killing spree, just getting a lot of coins to buy out the rest of the shop, and that's one of the very last things of the run. But once you collect everything, buy all the things in the shop, do all the puzzles, do all the mini games, do all the levels, you unlock Endless Vibe, which we use because it's like the very last thing you get and you're done, basically we use it in the 100% run. One time at the very end, we have endless vibe for the final Bowser fight. So unfortunately, for as useful as endless vibe is, you don't get it until you're done with everything almost. So it's kind of silly. But it's a convenient thing to have.
It's too bad there isn't like a New Game Plus or something.
Yeah. The best thing we do have, at least for speedrun purposes, for individual level runs, like if you want to just test how fast can you do like a new game, basically go into the level with whatever power-ups you want, unlimited vibe, anything, and just get a best time through the level without any restrictions. So we do have that as an option if that's some kind of thing you'd like to test the limits of. But yeah, so every level twice, plus 24 new levels, plus 30 minigames, plus buying out the shop, plus 8 puzzles. You know, I gotta bounce off of this guy before he blows up. Perfect. And and the other thing you have to watch out for, there is an enemy glossary you have to fill out. Essentially, you do that by making sure you defeat every enemy at least once. I guess anyone who's played Kirby 64 Crystal Shards, it's similar to that, like, enemy gloss. Just shows you all the enemies. It even gives you a little 1 or 2 sentence blurb about all of them. And there's actually one enemy that spawns in 3 levels, including this one in this last room. It's actually a reference to Starfy. It's a little yellow star with sunglasses. But you have to, like, keep resetting the room until, like, I don't know. I'm just going to say it's 10%. I don't know what it is. But some kind of low percent chance of him spawning. You just have to reset the room, make sure you hit him before he runs away. So you have to hit him in all 3 rooms that he's in. So a little bit of extra RNG sprinkled into your, what is it, 5, 6, 7 hour run? I honestly don't even remember how fast that run is at this point. But yeah, the amount of additional content you do in the 100% run scales up. And I tend to try to get 1 run of that done, 1 run a year in August. Because August, at least according to when I Googled what month is Peach Month, at least in the States, apparently August is Peach Month. So I do a little Peach celebration with a 100% run, among other peachy things throughout the month.
Peachy Keen. You have a second for another donation?
Please do.
We got $25 from Silly Person, putting this towards the Pac-Man 99 score attack mode. Now, I gotta say, you guys have been super, super generous on these incentives. You have given, we're way ahead of the game. That incentive, the deadline for that wasn't until tomorrow night, almost midnight Eastern time. And so we already got that bet. That's out of the way. $25 was enough for that. So thank you very much for your donations. We're way ahead of the game on incentives. And I neglected to mention that during this run, we also passed $4,000 for the marathon. So let's go. Get those donations rolling in to benefit No Kid Hungry and to support Xander Robotic on this awesome, awesome run.
Is Uncle Slam the one doing the Pac-Man run?
I think so, yes.
Okay. I'd like to give him a quick...
Indeed Uncle Slam, yeah.
Yes. I'd like to give him a quick shout out because he is the reason I'm here today. I got a message from him 2 days ago saying, hey, do you want to showcase Super Princess Peach in this marathon? So thank you very much to Slam for helping push me into this opportunity to showcase this. And thank you all so much for letting me be here and share a game that is very special to me to all of you here. If it's hard to tell from what's on my camera, I don't know if you can tell what's over there. There's a couple of Peachy plushies. I do very much have Princess Peach as my favorite video game character, so...
I can't tell, and I feel like you need more stuff.
I could have put on the brooch. I could have put on the whole dress and everything. I wasn't ready to get fully dressed in the wig and earrings, unfortunately. Had I had a little more time to mentally prepare, maybe I could have considered
Honestly, you know what? That's worth a follow right there, I think.
Well, thank you so much. All right. Some fun, unique enemies of this level. Some giant walruses that we just kind of skip. One of my favorite things about them, though, is if you like stand on top of them when they spring out, you can use them to gain exceedingly high heights, which is actually useful to get up to a toad box if you're doing, or a collectible post game for 100% runs. But yeah, that's a fun little walrus jump that we used to do in the old, basically in the all toads run is what it is now. Also, we're doing more tippity taps of rocks. They're little snowballs now. I'd say place your guesses on who you think the boss of this world is, but to my knowledge, this is an original character that is never seen before or after this game. So unless you were going to guess Blazzaris, which if you did, I think you're cheating, I'm sorry. You wouldn't have gotten it. But yeah, well, Blazzaris is like this ice walrus fairy that hides in a ball of ice. And we're going to use Rage to melt the ice. We could actually have instantly gotten hits on her, but it's better to wait until after she runs to the left and spawns these icicles. And now I'm going to start using my Rage to get damage in. And the reason I want these icicles to spawn is because I need them to drop Vibe, which is RNG, if they give me small, big, or none. I'm actually going to let Blazzaris run across here. We actually get good Vibe drops. Okay. I'm going to use some of my Vibe first, but then I want to make sure I catch that crystal before it disappears. I did not, unfortunately. I tried to optimize a movement and I screwed up. But now I don't have too much Vibe going into phase 2 when she goes into fairy mode. So now I need to rely on these icicles from the sky to give me more drops, which that one gave me some. That's good. And there's a big crystal there. So we should be in a good spot to get the last few hits here. But yeah, the RNG of where the icicles spawn... Okay, we need to be a little careful here. Where the icicles spawn, do they give you Vibe? That can all be very costly. The PB that I happened to get yesterday, I lost 30 seconds. 20, maybe 20 seconds, I don't know. A lot more than I was happy about that. Like, it's a lot for just one boss fight in bad RNG. So yeah, you just kind of have to be prepared to deal with whatever comes your way and try to minimize the damage, because sometimes it's not up to you. The RNG kind of decides what kind of luck you're getting, which you may have seen as a common theme on our boss fights here. But yeah, now we're off to Giddy Sky. There's a couple of tight jumps throughout the world. The first 2 rooms of this level already had 2 of them where like I just barely make it across a gap. I just barely catch that ladder. I'm going to run across these platforms. I do a damage boost and then really quick have to jump to not fall there. I do have to be a little careful here. This is one of those moments where we have just enough Vibe to skip some platforming. I'm going to get some nice height and speed from that ramp, fly up, and hopefully make it far enough over. Good. So that I can just skip making platforms appear, having to climb up them, all that stuff. Get rid of a couple of spiny tops here, a couple of angry ones. They're fuming, as you can see. They are no match for our little slide tackles. There, real quick, those Goombas you saw, we gave them a couple of quick nom-noms. Parry absorbed them. Yeah, it's a very quick animation, but if you look closely, you can see very much they do get eaten. And a lot of vertical stuff here, so when it's time to go up, it's time to get joyous. So I'm not taking these vines, we're just going for a flight. And I think I mentioned before we're done with the shop, but yeah, basically, you see I'm at 750 coins again. That's, you know, cool, I guess, but after I bought those 2 Vibe Teas, I've not been looking at my money whatsoever. There's no, like, potentially if, like, some very significant movement optimization is found, it may be worth getting extra Vibe, but as of right now, it's not. Here's these forward-moving chain chomps I mentioned. We're going to see if we can do some cool trick to have them, take us for a wild ride here. I'm gonna try to get up close to him, fly partially over him, but land on top, take a hit, and then, unfortunately not so lucky. I wish I could have demonstrated it, but unfortunately no. Basically, you get pushed forward in such a way that, the speed you get, because, it's really hard to describe, that's why I wish I could have shown it, it's unfortunate. But essentially, because because you keep getting pushed by them, the knockback kind of continuously accumulates, and you just begin accelerating so fast that actually, if done the best possible, the camera can't even keep up with you. You just sail off screen until the camera finally catches up.
Do you have a second for another donation?
Oh, this is the perfect time. Auto scrollers. Favorite time for donations.
A $20 donation from RedStang06, who says, "You guys are doing something awesome and bringing joy to people. Keep being awesome." RedStang06, you keep being awesome. You are the awesome one. Thank you very much for your donation.
I was thinking the same thing. Y'all donators are the awesome ones, let's be honest. Whoop. That is not where we want to be. The nice thing about these pits is if you have enough vibe and a good enough reaction time, which I think this game has definitely helped with my reaction time, you can kind of save yourself from falling to your death with a quick joy vibe. That's not even a pit, but I still want to joy out of it. Yeah, unfortunately, having a couple of sloppy jumps here, but we're still moving. There we go. Hi, Toad. Bye, Toad. What other games have parasoling bombs featured in them? I think Mario World does, or the bob bombs in that game look a little bit different. Maybe a Yoshi game? I don't know. I'm curious, folks in chat. This is one of the things I've wondered. How many people prior to this marathon being here today knew this game existed? The reason I ask is I think one of my favorite questions I got when I was running this in a marathon, someone in chat asked, "So, what game is this a hack of?" Like,
I'll tell you that I didn't. So this is totally new to me. I'm enjoying it.
Gotcha. Yeah. Awesome. I think when it first came out, I kind of knew about it, but I didn't get it. I got it years later, used at a GameStop, I believe. But I at least knew of it. But yeah, it's been interesting seeing people being like, "Oh, what is this game? This is..." Yeah, definitely did. Just never bought it. Cool. It's like a lot of folks did know about it. Cool. I mean, honestly, in the end, I like knowing that people were aware of it. Lakitu's being a bully. Alright, I took his cloud though. We're even. Okay, borrowed. Oh, nice. Okay, did anyone that knew about it and played it, did anyone get unfortunately trolled by the "you need to save all the toads"? And then they didn't save them and then had to pay the price and not get to either have to revisit or have to just not beat the game. And thank you all for sharing. I really appreciate it. Have the game. Nice. And this is the only puzzle piece we'll be collecting the entire game. It's just puzzle piece D6, just blocking our path here. I think this is the most creative, like, so different vibes you use to like solve puzzles to move through levels. I think using rage to power a hot air balloon is my favorite. I find it to be the most creative idea.
That's an entire move right there. My rage could power an entire hot air balloon.
That is pretty impressive. You're not wrong. But yeah, like, it makes sense and it's pretty clever. Like some other ones, like, okay, you can use rage to burn a bridge. Okay, fire burns bridge is cool. That's not surprising. You can, there's a water wheel. You use gloom to like make it spin, whatever. Pretty straightforward, but hot air balloon would not have been my first thought of what can I use fire for to you know, unlock a path or whatever. Just, oh, gotcha. I have some games like that where like, yeah, I have this game, I'll play it eventually. And it just kind of sits there.
Shout out to my Steam library.
Exactly. Yeah, it's everyone's Steam library, let's be honest. I have one physical copy of a game that's kind of like that, and that is Snipper Clips on the Switch. I played it the day I got it for Christmas or something, and since then, not so much. but it's something. But yeah, most of this run, I don't know if you really noticed that, it's very much a technical movement-based thing. Get run with like minor things to be aware of in terms of optimizations like damage boosting, jumping with bloom, stuff like that. But it's all about execution. It's not really so much a glitch-heavy game until the one trick we see at the very end. I don't know if that's like people's preference of what kind of speed games they like, but it's definitely interesting, worthwhile thing to point out of like what kind of run we're seeing here, because we're essentially seeing the entire like every level of the main game, and we're seeing most of it. We're not like going out of bounds. We're not like doing any nasty tricks or anything. We were just trying to find the shortest natural path from point A to point B, and trying to do it fast. Which the path we're taking here actually is another shortcut through this level that skips a lot of toads again. So this lot, like, if you did the all toads run or the legacy any %, we never set foot in that room. We never came out of this pipe from the ceiling. But as we're able to optimize our pathing now, we get to take these shortcuts, which is fantastic. I guess I'm going to try to give like a little like first note, get over this please, of what we're going to be doing. When I finish this level, keep an eye on the bottom screen, or the right screen, I believe it is for y'all. For the, like on the map, you'll see little dots appear to like connect to the next level that we unlock. And they'll have like little skull-looking faces on them, and then they'll sink down into the dots. And you'll just see the little circles just chilling there. That's where you're going to want to be keeping your eyes. See the little dots go up and back down. Those little small dots connecting the worlds are what you're going to want to keep an eye on after I beat World 8-5, because that's where the secret to skipping the toads exists. There's going to be a little, something small is going to pop up somewhere randomly along those small dots. I'm going to not fall, please. I'm going to tap on it, and then it's going to break me into the mini game before the boss. We honestly have no real idea why that works. The only theory we've kind of tossed around in the community is maybe it was like some sort of debug thing left in by the developers so that like if they ever wanted to break into the final boss without saving all the toads, they could use that. I don't know. It actually is a trick you can do in any world, and when you use it in any world besides World 8, it takes you to like some hybrid of like the first level of that world, but also the first post-game level of that world, and there's actually a few places where it causes some weird visual glitches. The wrong music plays in some rooms, the wrong backdrop appears in rooms, and like you go through one door in World 2 when you do that, and like there's just no floor beneath you, and you just keep respawning and falling to your death. Oh, and what makes this game better than Super Mario World, by the way, is that I believe it has more levels with torpedo Teds in them than Super Mario World does. So,
shots fired. Wow.
Yes.
Didn't realize we were taking shots at Super Mario World here.
Honestly,
Hello.
Super Mario World is one of my favorite games. I was just another enemy shout out to another game. But yeah, I just remember Soda Lake was the only place you could see torpedo Teds in Super Mario World, so they brought them over to this game, but they actually appear a couple times in some water levels. Although I think during the run we only see them in that one room. Now I'm hoping I'm not wrong in saying that. No, they appear in World 8 water levels, pretty sure. Oh no, Super Mario World is a fantastic game that I have lots of fun in. Alright, second to last boss here. We're doing the World 1 minigame all over again. So just jumping up on trampolines, they're just dragging you down with my stylus and shooting Peach upwards. Oh, I think I did that. No, that's right. Up here. And hopefully I can skip the last trampoline. Alright, that's alright. We just do a little ricochet off the wall. All good. And sorry I didn't give you all an opportunity to guess, but we are facing
those round bird thingies. No!
Alright. Yeah, so Kamek is our boss here. It's floating around. We're just going to use the Tornadoes of Joy. Oops. to make his head all dizzy and bonk him on the face. And in phase 2, we'll see that he gets all sad and gets rid of our platform here. And we're just have to use a little bit more flight to get our hits in, but more or less similar pattern for the final 2 hits. You kind of use the movement of the scepter to predict where he's going to spawn so that you can prepare yourself for the hit as fast as possible. And I try to get like as much height as possible before using my joy to make sure I don't run out of vibe setting up for this. And there we go. And I'm not sure who this guy is that we save. If anyone knows, feel free to tell me. But, I mean, the game doesn't tell you. It, like, we saved, like, some green... What does it say? It says you saved the green man? If anyone knows who that person is, just let me know. It's the green man. We saved the green man. He's free. We got him.
He needs saving. Poor green man. Is that like a... Is there a lore reason for why Peach doesn't know who Luigi is? Or is it a translation error?
I think it's just the running joke of the green man just doesn't get as much recognition. You'll actually get to see one more showcase of that post-game as well, of Luigi kind of not getting the love.
Poor Luigi.
Mm-hmm. Shrek? Oh, is it Shrek? Oh, shoot. My bad.
Luigi is love, Luigi is life.
So real quick, just... these doors I'm going through are a labyrinth to get, like, some doors reset you to the beginning of the maze, some doors take you to side paths to get to Toads. I'm just taking the doors that take me straight through to the end of the labyrinth. It's plain disrespect. Honestly, yes. Alright, and we've got some more gravity rooms like we did back in Shriek Mansion. I neglected to tell you, we don't rotate them. We just kind of cheese them with flight. So, if you like seeing the room rotate, sorry. You don't get to see the room rotate. Oh, Kitty's awake and going on a trip. Thanks for your help. Bye, Kitty. Anastasia is her name for those that are interested, by the way. Alrighty, and we've got ourselves a pretty long vertical auto-scroller here. It's one that, like, the cycles of the platforms make it so that, like, you really only get one chance to get across each time, but it's not too terribly bad. This would actually be a good time for any donations, announcements, whatever you got.
Well, let me tell you once again, if you are just tuning in, this is the Speed Gaming Spring Marathon benefiting No Kid Hungry, a charity with the mission of ending childhood hunger. You can get the donation link by typing !NKH in the chat, by looking in our Twitch profile, or by going to speedgaming.org/NoKidHungry. If you want more information about the marathon, you can check out that link, speedgaming.org/NoKidHungry, to see our list of prizes and donation incentives. To contribute to an incentive, just mention the incentive in your donation comment. All donations go directly to that charity, No Kid Hungry. We've got a couple prizes that are coming up on their deadlines. For instance, the next deadline is in less than an hour. At the top of the hour, that one just passed. Yeah, so unfortunately no, this is still coming up here. No, 12. I'm doing 12-hour math in my head and converting from Eastern Pacific in my head. So this is all all going on. The 8BitDo NES Pro controller just passed about 10 minutes ago. But if you want to get your donations in now, you can win a set of Mega Man 4 Hurlers. That prize is up at midnight Eastern time.
I never mentioned one minor optimization with ladders. It's faster to jump your way up the ladder. That's why you hear when I go ladders, you go whoop, 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 as I hop up the ladder. But in addition to that, when you get to the top, if you're holding up at the top of the ladder, Peach will do a slow, like, get up animation. So to negate that, you want to let go of up and just jump at the top of the ladder to just naturally make your way up there via through jumping.
Speaking of Mega Man, do the same thing there.
Nice. Eric, I imagine it every day of my life. One day. My vision of it would be something like the new is it the new Super Mario Bros. Series where it's like Mario, Luigi, and the Two Toads? Or like Mario 3D World, but instead it would be like Peach, Daisy, Rosalina, and Pauline. I would very much enjoy that. I am a fan of co-op games these days, so I would very much enjoy a princess co-op platformer. So, you can't see them, but they're causing a lot of lag in this room. I'm being chased by a bunch of blindfolded boos right now, which is actually one of my favorite, like, designs in terms of, like, they can chase you nonstop without stopping when you look at them because they're wearing blindfolds, so they can't know that you're looking at them. I think it's a clever little design. I thought it was an original idea in this game, and then I watched some Yoshi Story speedruns and realized there were blindfolded boos that chase you by sound in Yoshi Story, so... Blindfolded boos are not new in this game, but I still find them clever and I appreciate them. What is new to this game, there's the rage boos. They actually work opposite of typical boos. When you look at them is when they come at you, and then they stop when you look away. It is a neat little flip on the trope of boos. It's gonna... disrespect that toad by using the box he's stuck in as a platform to hide up here, hop up here. And I did this once before, but I'm going to use my gloom to come in like a wrecking ball and knock open our path forward. So, as everyone knows, when you run really fast to wrecking balls while crying, that is how you make things happen. Oh, this next room here is very tight and precise in timing if I can get it right. You'll see the giant thwomp face in the background there. He will eat you up if, like right now, since I don't match the pattern of the statues, he is going to gobble me up, which is unfortunate and slow, and it's going to reset me in the room. I just wanted to demonstrate it so you could know what it did. Let's be honest. But yeah, so you just have to match the pattern of the statue to not get seen. Now up ahead here, as long as I don't screw this up. Nope, okay. I think I'm a little too slow, so I don't want to risk it. I was too slow again. All right, I really want to show off this sleek movement. That is exactly why I'm doing this a third time. If you do it perfectly, you will get in the door right before he sees you. So let's see if I can get it here. Usually the visual cue is going to be directly under that heart for the second check, and you have to carefully jump over him and just run full speed ahead. Go, 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 door. And I was a frame too late. But you can see how I was right on the door when it was supposed to happen. It is a very tight window. I am sorry that I'm now going through this room a fourth time. Okay, we're just gonna, I went too far, so it's actually gonna mess with my movement, so I'm just gonna play it safe here. Unfortunate.
First try. We got
yes! Thank you. I appreciate the support. There's a boo right there that you see it's not chasing me because I'm looking away. Because it's one of the angry boos. And everyone's favorite Mario science. Fire can exist underwater. Don't question it. We've got some happy bloopers doing figure eights. There was the urchins from Mario World. Lots of fun, familiar casts of characters here. That's a good point. Yeah, you don't take damage from being caught. You just kind of reset the room. And here we just kind of have to sit and wait as this blue flame slowly follows us and lights these torches. For the longest time, that little platform like above the blue lava where the fire comes out of, I used to think was background and not floor you could walk across, so I'd always like try to jump over it and stuff. I forget if I saw someone playing through the game casually walk across it, or if I just happened to walk across it once, but I was like, oh, that's actual floor, isn't it? It's a little nifty thing there. Alright, 2 more levels and a final boss. Let's go! One last time on a zipline. If y'all have been doing some Let's Goes for me in chat and I've missed them, I apologize and I appreciate you. Thank you so much. And we go Slidebrella straight into a Subbrella. Sometimes the urchin in this room... Hang on. Yeah, there it goes, bye! I don't understand why that happens, but sometimes one of the urchins just kind of pieces out like that.
This planet needs him.
Exactly, yes. My only guess is because you're spawning too many bubbles on the screen and the game kind of freaks out or something. No idea. But yeah, one more gravity room here that we do not gravity in. We're just gonna kind of take a hit through the boo. We don't even like you don't even need to use any vibe to get through. It's really just, oh, it was fine the way it was. You could just rotate it to get some coins. Now this is one of the rooms that we use Gloom to run through, but with the cycles of the spikes and all these different things going on, it is actually probably one of the trickier ones for me to Gloom through. And actually that went pretty well, so I'm really happy with it. See people talking about some of the Mario and Luigi RPG games. Those are really fun. That is unfortunate. Gotta be a little bit careful with my vibe here. And my health, honestly. You know what? Let's showcase the calm vibe up ahead here. See if all can see what it looks like, and I just reduce the risk of dying. So you see I have a little bit of glow, and my health just restores a little bit. All for the showcase. Alrighty, and that leaves us with one more level, and this is probably meant to be one of like the longest levels in the game. The way it works, we're going to start in an auto-scroller, and then it's going to take us into this big hub room that has 4 different exits to it in the 4 corners essentially. Bottom left, bottom right, and top right all lead to side paths that all have toads, and the top left is basically your exit. And we're going to go straight for the exit and just make this a super short level, which is super nice. And then once we do that, when we get back out on the overworld, I'm going to like go back to the big map and then reset back into the level. And once we do, that's when you need to start looking at the little dots between the levels. And you're going to look for like a little skull thing to pop up. And essentially what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to have my stylus out and I'm going to tap like, I believe it's a little bit to the left of that dot that pops up. It can pop up anywhere along the levels. And if I get the tap properly fast enough in the right spot, it's going to just break me in to the final boss of the game. And that is that little trick that someone just kind of like casually came into our Discord and said, hey, do you guys know this trick exists? Like not a speedrunner, just someone said, hey, this thing exists. You want to start doing this in your runs and save 30 minutes? Because of that one trick, we are now doing runs 30 minutes faster than we used to. So yeah, going to back out, re-enter, and then just look at the little dots, and I'll point out where I tap for it. And unfortunately, when it happens, where it happens, is all RNG. So if you're on a really good run and you get like a slow spawn or you miss it, it can be really costly. It was in between worlds 2 and 3 there, if you didn't see it. But yeah, just like that, I am now in the final boss of the game, doing one last little touchscreen mini game here. We're scratching the boos again, and it's going to have 3 parts to it. There's going to be a Hammer Bro fight that I'm just going to attack the Hammer Bro by like using Rage to hit him 5 times. Bowser with the Vibe Scepter, where I'm going to hit him with Rage 10 times. And then a big Bowser that you're supposed to throw Bob-Ombs in his face, but instead of doing that, I'm just going to fly up to him and poke his eye out 5 times. Because like when I fly up and hit him in the eye, I'm not going to use the attack button. I'm going to use the pickup button. So, and my guess for that is like there are enemies in the game that like you can't pick up. So if you try to use the pickup button on them, instead of getting picked up, they just get like attacked and despawn. So my best guess of what's happening there is the game doesn't know... You need to hop over here, bro, please. Thank you. Doesn't know what to do with bosses and treats them like unpick-upable enemies. And so you end up just damaging Bowser by poking him in the eye 5 times. Also, that little animation of spawning in new Hammer Bros, if you can get your hits on Hammer Bro fast enough, you can skip that animation happening. Unfortunately, I didn't quite get over to him fast enough. You want to catch him right as he's landing on the ground, if possible, to get those hits in. But yeah, that is boss fight number 1. And now we've got boss fight number 2 here. Every health actually takes 2 hits for Bowser here. So that's now 1 damage on him. I use Rage again. And this guy's actually going to use all 3 vibes here through his different phases. So here's some Joy vibe. He's going to start jumping and stomping. Alrighty. And now we're going to go into a Gloom phase, where he's just going to cry and then yeet himself up into the sky. And we're going to have some hammers falling on us. And once we get into the final Bowser fight, time is going to come up pretty fast because we're going to get 5 hits like back to back. So a little bit of Rage vibe here for the final phase. But he doesn't really get a chance to do anything. We're just going to set him on fire and he's done. So yeah, we're about to get 5 really quick hits. So time is actually coming up very shortly here. Yeah, Gwahaha, you have much to learn. Bowser goes all big mode. And I'm just going to fly up and poke him in the eye a couple times and send him to the optometrist. That's 1. And time is on the 5th hit. So that's 2. After 4 hits, he tries to sleep and heal, but we don't give him a chance to. It's 3, 4. He actually has a chance to like instantly close his eyes and we don't get a chance to hit him. That's time. But fortunately, it didn't happen this time, and we are done. That is Super Princess Peach any percent with a super fast Bowser fight at the end there. So there you have it.
GG's. What a fun run that was.
Indeed. Yeah, I've been on and off speedrunning this game. Has it been like 6 or 7 years? Something like that. But yeah, like I said, one last little disrespect to the green man here, unfortunately. Gets one last yeet! As Mario is saved, and everyone gets to go home to the castle. Yeah, so thank you so much, SpeedGaming Marathon, for No Kid Hunger. Thank you so much for having me. Keep getting your donations in, folks. This is a great cause, and I am very grateful to have been able to participate and be here with you all. And thank you so much to the host of the stream right now. Thank you for leading this, for having me here.
Thanks very much